All right. So we'll get into Trevor Lawrence. We'll kind of start from the bottom and go up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trevor Lawrence. There was rumor that he might be coming to the Steelers. I said this before that he might be a good option, probably their only option. And we heard that wasn't true. That was a fake story. You said it was a fake story. But I want to talk about it anyway. They said no way.
Oh, no, they said, yeah, it wasn't that it was fake. It was like someone came out of the organization and be like, no, that is not happening yet.
Yeah, we also heard that about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields too last year. So I think anything is possible. I think it's still possible, regardless of what they say. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just simply going off of what people are saying, which is not factual. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So, but yeah, apparently it was like you're saying you heard it was a fake story, but I think he would be a good fit for us, a good option. I thought they should have drafted him because he would have been there when Big Ben was still there, I believe.
Yep.
So that would have been good to have him under Ben's belt for a little bit. Should have done this a long time ago. Now we're in the situation we are, obviously, because Mike Tomlin, I guess it's an ego thing, and I don't get it. But yeah, we're not winning a Super Bowl with Justin Fields at quarterback, man. I don't care if he has, Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice, Hines Ward, and Torrey Holt at receiver. He's not winning a Super Bowl, man. Justin Fields has not taken us to a Super Bowl. He's good, but he's not winning us a Super Bowl. There's no way. So we have to get a quarterback that can get us to a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence is that guy. Arch Manning could be that guy. So what do you think about this story?
I mean, dude, regardless of if someone came out and did not want it to happen from the Jacksonville perspective, I mean, listen, I personally liked the step-by-step game or game-by-game kind of build that Justin Fields had this year. I mean, again, they had a really tough loss against Indianapolis Colts. I mean, that was not a good image for him, but at the same time, seeing him at the helm and watching, showing signs of improvement, looking how they did, they just seemed like they were in a pretty good groove, offensive line-wise. I mean, I think Najee and Jalen.
So you think? Let's just focus on the Trevor Lawrence thing. But I'm saying Justin Fields, we can win a Super Bowl. You think that?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think that if he was given a full season of complete control, I don't know. I mean, that's really where it all went downhill because, again, Tomlin made it abundantly clear that Russell Wilson was going to be the guy once he was healthy. They put him in, and of course he was going to look great against bad defenses. And then he, of course, went up against the elite, didn't look good, and this is where the situation went down. Justin Fields kind of got shackled, really put into the plate. Calls a lot. They just did not have a game plan for him. Where it was how could you not? That was one of the fastest dudes at running back, quarterback, being so he can run plays just as well as he can throw, or better than he could throw. But they never tried to take advantage of it. So I didn't understand that game plan. But Trevor Lawrence with an Arthur Smith offensive-led team, I don't know how he would mesh with Tomlin. I really don't know how he would look as just a pocket guy. Again, I'm always about the tradition, and I like a quarterback that knows how to sling the ball. Trevor Lawrence is a guy who can do that. Now, then you're looking at what? George Pickens and potentially Darnell Washington, and I want Pat Freiermuth involved with it too. That's another thing, bud. I understand you're not a big fan of Pat. I understand that completely. But at the same time, I knew that the dude could have the tools to be a top 10 tight end. Not maybe a top 5, but he could definitely be between 6 and 10. I've always believed it. They just do not know what to do with that guy because they don't want to run the schemes right. They just want to use tight ends as blockers. That's what we've seen all the time. They don't ever use the tight ends correctly because most tight ends are in the middle of the field exposed. Like they just try to open up the field, get it down in like 15, 20-yard territory and catch the ball. So that they never wanted to take advantage of it because they knew the line was not strong enough to withhold that type of time for a guy like either Fields or Wilson, whatever. So they didn't use the tight end spot right at all this year. And because of the banged up offensive line, the running backs were inconsistent. Like there were games where they looked great at a hole, and then there were times where they couldn't find anything to save their lives. So a Trevor Lawrence,
we do have receivers, Jared. Some. I mean, if we get a good quarterback, I think we could do with that what we will. I mean, Pat Freiermuth has no receivers. He has Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, I guess, but they don't have receivers. I mean, I don't know what.
Did you say Pat Fryer? I think you meant Patrick Mahomes, bud.
What did I say?
I think you said Pat Freiermuth. Did you mean Patrick Mahomes? Okay.
Patrick Mahomes has no receivers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
So I think if we get a good quarterback, we could do. Man, where's our lads at? I'm trying to look up the. Oh wait, my bad. All right, so like we have George Pickens, Van Jefferson, we have Calvin Austin, we have Roman Wilson. We do have some guys at receiver that he could work with. I mean, Calvin Austin's a good option. Roman Wilson will be, I think. We have Mike Williams as well. So if we got like a good quarterback, I think we can do with these receivers. So that's obviously a hole that you just mentioned. Tight end, we're good. I think the O-line's fine. We got depth. But, running back's another issue that we have. I personally don't want Scattaboo. I don't want, Ashton Genty could be a good option, but I definitely don't want Scattaboo. Just that one game in the playoff, he took like 12 freaking concussion hits in that game alone, let alone in the NFL. Like, I don't think he'd have a long career. I think he'd be a better fullback than anything, even a linebacker. But, I think if we get like a Trevor Lawrence with these receivers, we could make that happen. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of holes. Running back room sucks. Jalen Warren's not a 4-down back. And this is just my opinion. Najee Harris, not good. Cordell Patterson did nothing this year. So we're not winning a Super Bowl with this roster. We're just not. And, I said it going into the Super Bowl. With Anthony, I said the Super Bowl is going to come down to this group right here, the defensive line, and the Eagles' defensive line totally dominated them. That's why they won.
Oh, dude.
And Jalen Hurts had a career game. But, yeah, man, like Cam Hayward, he's old. Pretty much, Keanu Benton, Larry Ogunjobi, Loudermilk gets in there. Adams gets in there. And then TJ, he's getting older. Patrick Queen's still, in good shape. Highsmith is getting a little older. Minka's getting older. We need another guy opposite of Joey Porter. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, dude, like with the defense, that right there just tells you the Terrell Austin thing was just, that was what it was all about. Play calling. And again, when you're using Minka like 20, 30 yards downfield from the safety position that you're supposed to be at, I mean, Dante Jackson, dude, I mean, he wasn't the most consistent dude because he was hurt a lot. I heard a story about how he played through an injury. He had a lot of back issues. Like that right there can put you down. I mean, he had some great moments, but they wouldn't use guys like Beanie Bishop completely because Cam Sutton came back in and disrupted everything. You could tell once Cam Sutton came in, everything like on the defensive side just completely derailed. Like our numbers went completely down. It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, a quarterback like we got. I think I don't know about the defense, but right now, Russell Wilson, that's not going to work. Justin Fields could work, but with Justin Fields at quarterback, and if they don't get, and I guess yeah, with Trevor Lawrence, we're kind of waiting to hear the story. He would be a good fit. I think we're both in agreement on that. But let's
Yeah.
say, to get into the Cooper Kupp / Emeka Egbuka story, if we go with Justin Fields, all right, Omar Khan, we'll see what he does. He made a lot of moves last year, but it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should have kept Justin Fields in. We kind of know what Russell Wilson can do. He, death, taxes, and Russell Wilson taking sacks. Those are the 3 guarantees in life. He has no mobility at all. He's going to take a sack. So if we can keep Justin Fields and put him as the starter, and then use George Pickens, maybe a Cooper Kupp in there, and then getting Emeka Egbuka in the first round,
Mm-hmm.
that's plenty of weapons for Justin Fields,
Yeah.
who I think ultimately should be a running back because he's a great runner. But they need
Yeah.
to use him in the running game. They need to use it, in the mobile quarterback game is what I mean.
All right.
And then they need to work on his accuracy and stuff like that. But if they can get 2 receivers in this offseason, whether it be draft or free agency, get more weapons around him, I think it'll be better. But running back is also an issue. So, I mean,
personally, and this is my opinion. I'm gonna try and make a prediction on this. If the Trevor Lawrence thing does happen, if he does somehow come to Pittsburgh, I do believe if they get him, they are going to go defense in the offseason. I think they're going to build the defense up more for Trevor Lawrence because I think, again, with a skill set like his, they can rely mostly on the offensive weapons, wide receiver or tight ends. Maybe the running back will maybe not be a big a factor, but if they go the route of Justin Fields, dude, they are going to acquire as many pieces for him. They will go wide receiver in the draft. They will go either running back in the draft. I think it really depends on what they have as quarterback. Because if you're looking at trying to find a strength, which again, Justin Fields is his legs, then you're going to full on go probably that route where it's you're going to probably find the best running back you can get available either in free agency or in the draft and keep Jaylen Warren as the backup and use Justin Fields as need be, because this is where it's going to be. Either you're going to try to make a push for something and try to make maybe a playoff run. I mean, I personally think all signs are pointing that this is just going to be one of those years where it may finally be a losing season. Finally. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but all signs are pointing that they may need to just take a step back for a year to really find out what they want to do at quarterback, because this is not a quarterback draft. And honestly, that's where it needs to be. If you're trying to do something for the Steelers' future, you need to get your franchise quarterback figured out. That is the most important position in the game. That's not a discussion. So unless you're trying to say that Justin Fields is good enough with his legs, because again, I feel like he would have more rushing yards to himself or rushing touchdowns than he would passing. I was not saying that he can't improve, but
they need to use his legs for sure.
Yeah, that's just a given.
But if we were to have a losing season, Jared, we're looking at Arch Manning, who I think they should get if they don't get a quarterback this offseason. You just go for Arch Manning.
Right.
Go all in, go for Arch Manning, because I think he's the real deal. I think he's going to be playing in the top 4 next year and maybe a national championship, maybe against Penn State. We'll see.
But, and I don't know if you know the story, Bud, but I think it was linebacker Preston Smith. I think that's what his position was. He was, was he a linebacker?
Yeah. Released him.
They released him. So they just opened up $13 million more in cap space. They now have somewhere in the neighborhood of $75, $80 million in cap space. That has got to be in the top 5 in all of NFL. So if we're not gearing up for an offseason of acquirees, we've got enough to back a truck up. At least now, I don't know if they're doing this for TJ Watt's extension. That could also be another route they're going, because I heard someone say, from the Steelers organization, that they want to lock TJ down and make him a Steeler for life. You go that route, you better be giving him a Super Bowl or giving him something soon. So he ain't getting any younger.
According to this, we're picking 12, which is a losing season, I think.
Yeah,
Even at 8-8, man, this thing is jumping all over the place. Holy crap!
it is.
This website is awful. WalterFootball.com. So even Drew Aller, he would be an option.
Hmm.
So, all right, I need to get up. So even Drew Aller would be an option, but yeah, they freed up cap, which means they could be making a big move this offseason. Or again, if they have a losing season next year, man, because eventually at some point, you know, I think his name's like Kevin Adams or something like that. The kid that has the Steel City podcast or Steelcast, it's called, with Jersey Jerry from
Okay.
Barstool Sports, put up a sign that said, "Sell the team, Mike Tomlin, you suck," basically. He bought the sign and put it up in Pittsburgh. So if they don't get a quarterback this year, okay, Justin Fields, we go with him. If he doesn't have success, we better get a quarterback in the draft next year, like a top quarterback.
That should be a given. Yeah.
Or we get Trevor Lawrence this year, and then we build around him. Trevor Lawrence is good on age. If Justin Fields doesn't have success and we don't get a good quarterback next year, and Trevor Lawrence doesn't come, then it's literally burn your ships. Like, we need to protest the Steelers because this is horrendous. It's embarrassing. So again, Big Ben, listening to his podcast, he talked about what you just said. Steelers not changing. The great point you just made. And what Julian Edelman said, right?
Yep,
Julian Edelman.
That was right, exactly. Yep, he was on someone's podcast, I think Patriots or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said about the Steelers don't change, and Big Ben said you have to change.
Right.
So if one of those three things does not happen, man, we're totally screwed. Totally screwed. So and if we keep winning enough to where we don't get a good draft pick, as fans, at some point you have to be like, all right, am I still going to go to games? Am I going to watch? You have to protest. You vote with your dollar, So same goes for Penn State. Stop filling up the stadium if you're not happy with the product, because they're still bringing in money.
Yeah.
Unless, next year we have to go to a national championship, appear in one or whatever. You have to, man, because if you don't with this talent, I don't know what else to say. And these coaches now. So overall, one of those three things has to happen. And if it does not, man, I don't know what's going to happen. But if we don't get Trevor Lawrence, yes, and even if we do get some receivers like Cooper Kupp and Mike Buka, I don't know if we're going to have a winning season. And I'll look up the latest on Cooper Kupp. But Cooper Kupp, what a name, man.
It is a good name.
It reminds me of Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
It does.
Clear favorite emerges for Cooper Kupp trade. All right. Let's see. They always talk about a bunch of random stuff, and then they talk about what the article's actually about. All right. Good Lord.
All the jumping.
Yeah, holy crap. Broncos, Steelers, Commanders, Patriots, Chiefs. So it looks like we're still in the running for that. So they could get him, but, next year, we could be looking at a losing season, man. What makes you say that?
I mean, it just seems like there needs to be a change. We've been talking, these guys just refuse to let themselves be open to anything else that is not that standard of, again, we only care about the defense. We only care about the run game. The quarterback just happens to have a great moment. That's great. That's the thing. We are talking about an organization that had a Hall of Fame quarterback that really never needed a coach. He really never needed one because he already had his skill sets pretty much figured out. So it's Tomlin never had to worry about a quarterback. before Ben retired. I mean, once Ben retired, you are seeing the results that we're getting from the quarterback side. And dude, it is just, if it ain't dead last, it's got to be in the top 5 worst I've ever seen. So it's unbelievable how we are just having this quarterback carousel that is just never, ever going the right way. I mean, it's like cranky. It's like, the thing just, it's leaking oil. Like there's fires shooting out from each side of the carousel. It's horrible. It just throws you for a loop all the time. I'm just wondering, when is that ever going to get figured out? Again, you talk about an offseason of riches last year with the Justin Fields and the Russell Wilson. You're like, man, that's crazy to think you got one that has a great arm and the other guy has a great leg. I mean, it's just, how could you lose? And again, I marvel at how the Steelers kind of take that as a challenge accepted kind of attitude. But in the end, dude.
All right. This was a couple days ago. Steelers landing. Bombshell report from Ryan Burr says that the Steelers have inquired about trading for former Jacksonville Jaguars #1 overall pick, sending their 2025 first and second round picks in return. I mean, first of all, people said it was fake. That's total bullshit. This happened. I mean, this definitely happened.
I'm not saying they said it was fake. I'm not saying they were fake. I'm saying that they basically shut it down. Like the organization came on and basically is like debunking the whole thing.
Well, here's what I meant about that too. If they shut that down so much, they wouldn't even try to do this. I don't think. Like, it's like if I sent you a letter, be like, "Hey, Jared, we're going on a cruise," and you just got this in the mail, you're like, "Well, I can't do that because I'm doing this that weekend." I'm probably going to let you know first.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's...
I get what you're saying.
It's like, yeah, I think it happened. I think it's still possible. I mean, they said that last year, like, Russell Wilson, that won't happen. Justin Fields. And then he got them both.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, very, very possible that this could happen. But yeah, man, if they don't change, like... Steelers fans, you have to ask yourself, when is enough enough?
Yeah.
I mean, it's at this point, it's pretty ridiculous. With all of that. But
yeah.
All right, Jared, to go back down through here, the new linebacker coach. We just signed another guy today.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see a Dallas guy? So who are they?
No.
Yeah, we just signed like a assistant linebacker coach or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, we promoted within, right?
Coach. What?
Yeah, was that guy from the Raiders or was that from someone within? I forget who the linebacker.
All right, Steelers. McCurley is the second new assistant added to Mike Tomlin, joining secondary coach Gerald Alexander.
Yeah.
All right, so who were you thinking of? Gerald Alexander?
I think it was Gerald Alexander, yeah.
And I think we got McCurley today or something like that. Yeah, okay. So yesterday, McCurley we got, and then before that we got Alexander. So what's your excitement about this?
Well, I mean, the fact that they had to lose the one guy, and that was a thing that was great for them, or that we knew the names for them. I mean, Cam Hayward and Patrick Queen and whoever Peyton Wilson, like that wasn't the worst that it could have been. But as the season went on, you could tell that it was a wear and tear thing. So it's something that needed to be addressed. And again, with a guy like they never got Cole Holcomb's back, and they just don't have that, solid inside line. Again, we keep bringing it up, but it's like since Ryan Shazier's departure, I mean, we have not filled that void of the inside of the field. And I mean, it's just, that's something that needs to be addressed. So, I mean, it seems like that was the smart move for them to bring him in. So I'm wondering what they're going to be doing for this offseason. Are they going to try to, acquire more help for that side? Like, that's really outside of cornerback. I think that's what we really need to be focusing on as well. Like, for the defensive side, like cornerback, inside linebacker, even possibly like, what is it? Cause Casey, like, I don't know. Like, you're thinking again, Fitzpatrick. Are we bringing him back? I mean, I don't know how much longer he has on his deal, but it's just that needs to be addressed. Like, what do you want the defense to do? Like, you have all these great names, but it just doesn't seem like anything's coming to fruition. Like, there's not a consistency with everything, and the only thing that you could rely on was probably what, like, Highsmith always getting somewhere. Maybe, TJ was going to get triple team. That was a guaranteed last year the whole time. I mean, I just could not believe that they refused to move TJ around the field. Like, that was another thing that just opened your eyes to, like, how Terrell Austin and then the coaching staff, like, how can you be that inept where it's like you had one of the better defensive players in the game? I don't care if he's getting older, but you could have moved him around the field and you just kept putting him on that, left side of the field or whatever side he's normally on. They would never move him. So, I mean, it's just like they're constantly putting themselves in this position themselves. Like, they're not, it's not like anyone's telling them that they have to have it go this way, but they let it go this way. Like, they are so stubborn and so egotistical that it's like, this is how we're going to beat you, and we know we're right, even though it's blatant that it's not happening. Like, they can say that the house is not on fire, but there's nothing left but ashes. They will tell you that there's nothing wrong behind us. Like, that's just what it is, dude. That's always been the issue. Like, I understand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but I understand that is how a coach sometimes is. Like, the general attitude of a coach is that I am right and I know what I'm doing. I can't not be looking incompetent. I can't have that on my head. And dare, if I ever had to be wrong, I can't do that because then the owner will fire me. Like, I don't know. Like, that just seems like that's the attitude they have to constantly go with. So,
well,
figure it out.
We'll talk more about the receiver room. That's a topic that you wanted to talk about too. And we will. We kind of already touched on it, but we'll go into more detail here.
Yeah.
But I would like a media member to ask Mike Tomlin when he says the standard is the standard. Like, standard is the standard. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Right. Salute.
Like, such a dumb thing. But what is the standard, Mike Tomlin? And he'll say Super Bowls. Like, okay, well, the games that, that lead to the Super Bowl are playoff games. So you have to win those first. And you have to win one within the last 7 years to even be in spitting distance of the Super Bowl. So, like, you need to win those first. That's the last time I think we got smoked by the Patriots in the AFC title game in 2017?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's the last time we actually won some playoff games.
Yep.
So, and I think that's the one where the Patriots went on to play the Falcons.
Yes.
So, like, and he had the 3 Bs and Bud Dupree and Jarvis Jones if he would have worked out. Devin Bush. I mean, holy crap, dude. That's like more wasted talent than the Browns.
Yeah.
Not quite, but it's like what's the standard, Mike Tomlin? What are we talking about here? What is your definition of the standard is the standard?
Right.
Because you talk a lot, but you're not winning. So what's the standard here? What are you talking about? So receiver room. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think we're gonna make some moves? Is that what you're?
Well, I mean, I think that's where we need to go with this because, again, they're constantly talking about potentially moving off George Pickens. Like, I've heard that story too. I mean, again, it's only a speculation. You can't put anything to it. But if that's what's out there, where it's like, well, what else is there? Like, I'm not knocking Van Johnson. I'm not knocking Mike Williams. And I'm certainly not knocking guys like Roman Wilson, who have not seen the field yet for whatever reason. Like, it's just, again, you talk about how badly, what's that?
Roman Wilson, he was hurt, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, he was constantly like having to go through injuries, I get, but it's just like they never got him healthy. Like, I don't know, like when he was healthy, seemed like they were not utilizing any opportunity to go somewhere. Like, give us something. Like, the fact that you shut him down for the entire year, where it seemed like it didn't need to go that way. I mean, for a rookie, I mean, you wasted a third round pick on the guy. I can't believe that you would not want to at least like see him in a game, if he was supposed to be something for him. Because again, that they were hurting. George Pickens was hurt at one point, and they never even used Mike Williams. You acquired the guy from the Jets, and when George Pickens was hurt, you never used him at all, practically. You were going with Michael Pruitt. I think that's who it was. I don't know if that's the other tight end with the Steelers, but it's like they would rather use They would rather use Connor Hayward and Pruitt over Darnell Washington and Pat Fryer. I mean, this is the game plan that you were seeing. It was inept. It was so incompetent. It was random. Like, there were a lot of choices where you look back on the season where it's like, why was this guy off of his position? Why weren't you using the player that you acquired? Why wasn't, like, dude, there are so many things that just make you just like, dude, I have no hair left. I think I scratched whatever hair left I have on my head, because they just constantly make these decisions that you're like, you cannot say that you are trying to get to a Super Bowl if all of your decisions are absolutely the opposite of that. Like, it just makes me wonder where it all goes. Because again, if you don't have the right quarterback for you guys, I mean, then it's like, why would your wide receiver room have even any chance of doing something? Because again, guys like Calvin Austin, great runner, but he's 5'8". Like, Van Jefferson, he was always a wide receiver 3. His stuff, the best years was with the Rams, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm just saying, I'm not saying you can't be Matt Stafford, but it's clear that Van Jefferson had to go elsewhere. And then you had Scotty Miller, who never got used. I mean, you had all these other options, and it's just like, I never saw the room used correctly, except for possibly, obviously, for George, because he's that talented. The dude knows how to catch a ball like no one's business. So the fact that you only had moon balls from Russ and no balls really thrown from Justin, because again, he's not known for that. So again, what do you have left? I feel like whatever your decision is going to be, you need to figure out what guys are going to be on the field in the wide receiver room. Like wide receiver 1, 2, 3. I personally think George Pickens is a WR2. That is just me. I mean, they can say he has the skills of a 1, but I think he would be better served as a wide receiver 2. And if Cooper Kupp is still a wide receiver 1, he is a MVP. He is a, Super Bowl winning guy. So I'd like to think if he's available, regardless of what is he, 31, 32? I mean, that's not ancient. Cooper Kupp. I think he is in his early 30s.
Is he really? Jeez.
I think so, bud. If he's not 31, he's 32. I know that much.
Can you Google that?
Yeah.
$31. Holy shit. Yeah, he's old.
Yep, he is 31 years old, bud. Yep. Hell, he'll be 32 in June. So he'll be 32 by next season. So, I mean, I'm just saying, knowing who you have at quarterback is going to be essential. And a guy like Trevor Lawrence, I mean, dude, the guy could get you as far as anybody. That's what you always want from a gunslinger like him. So I would very much like to see at least an attempt to go and get the wide receiver 1 to complement George Pickens. And then you can talk about potentially having Vance Williams or Mike Williams be your number 3. I mean, that would be a very solid thing. Kupp, Pickens, Williams. Like, I would very much think that would be a great wide receiving core. Not elite, but it would be solid for a guy like either Trevor Lawrence or a guy, again, if it's Justin Fields, it's like, okay, I mean, how much is it going to matter if he can't get you the ball? That was the thing about George. He was so frustrated until Russell Wilson came along and he can get him the ball. So it's like, I don't know how they're going to justify using Justin in that sense. Like, if they're going to go with him, then it's like, there's no way George Pickens is staying in that regard. Like, he won't want to stay because he's not going to give him the ball. Like, there are so many things that go back and forth with this, where it's like, if you go this route, this side gets mad. If you go this way, then this side gets mad. It's like, there's no happy medium. There's no meeting in the middle with this, where it's like one person's going to be angry and the other one's going to be happy. Like, there's so many things that need to go right for the Steelers. And the thing is, dude, like we've been saying, it's all self-inflicted.
Yeah. Well, Coach JB, who we just had on here, and I'm going to use some language here, just a heads up to everybody. So when he has, it's called Slapdick Nation. He calls.
Okay.
He and if you watch his podcast, like he does not hold back on profanity. I mean, he swears 24/7. He yells and everything. It's entertaining as hell. But so I believe the definition, Slapdick Nation. Slapdicks are guys that mess around and stuff and cause trouble, but they still have a good head on their shoulders, and they can have potential. Shitbirds are guys that screw around too much and don't have potential, and they're just lost causes pretty much. And he called George Pickens a shitbird, which, I mean, dude, I think that's pretty fitting for him, man. He's not one. I don't think he's a wide receiver one, like you said. So yes, he could be a receiver too. He does not have the mindset or the mental fortitude, I don't think, to be a receiver one.
Right.
Like Devontae Adams, like a Hines Ward, because he was technically our number one.
He was.
And then like DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Those guys are number ones.
They are number ones.
Kupp was even a number one.
He was.
Much. So, I mean, at one point he was like the king of fantasy. So
he was.
I think that's a fitting name for him. And you know, all due respect to George Pickens, I like the guy, but I think that's a pretty good fit. He's a diva receiver, just like Antonio Brown, like Chase Claypool, like Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean,
right. And again, if you were just the wide receiver room, dude, I mean, we've got to put an end to this in that regard. Like you said, diva wide receivers, please. I am begging from the bottom of my heart, just find guys that want to work and do their job. I don't want a showboat. I do not want someone who thinks they need to get their fantasy points up. I just want you to come in, catch the ball, do a great job. Please, I don't see that why that would be so much to ask for, but it seems like ever since Antonio Brown, we have had nothing but diva wide receivers between him, between Chase Claypool. I mean, it's crazy. Like I feel like we have not had it normal for quite some time, and so that would be another thing they would need to address with it. Whoever you bring in, please just do your job and just want to do the job the way it's supposed to be done.
Well, you know, earlier this year, I think it was after the Jets game, I asked you, do you think we can win the Super Bowl? Do you think we're Super Bowl contenders? You said yes, and I agree with you. You're not the only one I heard said that. So it's like, yes, we were, man. We were. But then Russell Wilson just took every sack possible, pretty much sucked, and lost a bunch of games in a row. We hit the hardest part of our schedule, we lost. Right. Which we thought is when we would do better. We were on Hard Knocks, played on Christmas, all that crap.
Right.
So you think we can get Cooper Kupp? All right. Now, if we get Cooper Kupp, what are we giving up for him? Probably not too much. Like, we're not giving him a bag. I know that. He's got maybe 3 more years in him of good football. Maybe 3 more years.
Yeah, I mean,
but then we can get Agbuka in the first round.
Yep.
And then we have a freaking just absolute assembly line of receivers. I mean, we got Van Jefferson, we got Mike Williams, who I like. Mike Williams is a beast.
I did like him.
George Pickens, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin. Then we got Cooper Kupp and Emeka Egbuka. Then we got Justin Fields at quarterback, who we should use more in the running game as well. You know, the mobile game. But then we'd have to address like running back. But yeah, and then at defense, because defensively, scheme-wise, Julian Edelman said we suck, which we do. But we got Patrick Queen, we got T.J. Watt, we got Cam Hayward, we got just at linebacker, Highsmith, great players.
Yeah.
Our defensive line is pretty solid. But then at defensive back, we need some help there, man. We need another corner too. And we don't need names, man. We just need guys that can play.
Right.
I mean, you say about Beanie Bishop. I mean, he had some good games, but you were saying about how they didn't utilize him, you know?
Right. Again, we knew he was going to be taken out when Cam Sutton came back because, again, they acquired him and they knew that he was going to have the 8-game suspension and we had to wait. And again, how could you not? It's like, how could you not see that coming? Like, seriously. Like, a guy coming after 8 games, you expect him, what, to be the best version of himself 5 years ago? I mean, I didn't understand that at all.
Well,
Like,
you know
the guy was
what's
working.
crazy, Jared?
Yes.
Not to get off subject here, but I just want to say this real quick. When you think about, we talk about scheme and all that, think of all the top receivers in the game right now: DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
Okay. Yep.
Who else? That other kid from Minnesota that the Vikings have.
Oh, Jordan Addison.
All those kids from like Drake London, all those guys from Ohio State, like Garrett Wilson and those guys, Marvin Harrison.
Mhm.
They're not
Yep.
shitbirds, man. Have we ever been in a time where we don't have diva receivers across the NFL? I don't think so. But we have George Pickens. You know what I mean? It's like, so what's going on? There's something going on here where there's not like all these diva receivers. Like there was always diva receivers. Terrell Owens.
Yep.
I mean, you know, I can't think of a lot of names off the top of my head, but there was always diva receivers, man. Like Randy Moss, even.
Yep.
As good as he was,
Plaxico Burress, who used to be for us.
A diva receiver. So, you know, it's like, but we have a diva receiver, even though that's not that prominent across the NFL right now. So, like, that's why we need more weapons and we just need better quarterback play, because George Pickens type of guy, AJ Brown's a diva receiver. And then it got like Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, but like the way you get those guys to be happy, which is what we want, is get them the ball and get a good quarterback play. So, because I don't blame George Pickens totally for the way he is.
Right.
He wants to win. He gets mad. He got in a fight after the Browns game.
Yes.
It's like we need better play here, and we need some help. So it comes down to the running back too. Like, what do we got at running back? You know what I mean? I mean, it's just we don't.
Did I say correctly? Like they said that Cordell Patterson is the only running back on the roster that is actually signed to a deal right now. Because Dylan is a free agent, and Najee still hasn't had an extension talk, or he won't sign because I know he's out.
We're gonna have him next year, to be honest with you.
No, more likely he's gone, dude. I'm just saying, like neither one of them is currently under a contract. It's like that needs to be addressed. You cannot just have Cordell Patterson.
So, all right. So, what are we doing at running back?
I mean, I've heard talks of. Who was it? Aaron Jones? Was that from the Raiders or the Packers?
Aaron Jones is, I believe.
Is that Viking?
Aaron Jones isn't on the Packers anymore. Aaron Jones is with the Vikings.
Yeah. Okay. So is he with the Vikings? Yeah. They were throwing names like that around to like maybe if like if you want to try to get some mileage out of the dude. I mean, he's now probably 32 himself. I mean,
here's the thing: we could have competed this year for a Super Bowl, definitely. We were doing good.
Yeah.
We just didn't beat the teams we needed to beat. I mean, we beat the Ravens, that was a good win, but
the
Jets was even a good win, even though they weren't that good, but it's still a good win. I think we beat the Bengals, beat the Browns.
So, I think the most impressive win last year was the Commanders. Like that was a very, very tough game because they were down by 2 touchdowns.
We competed with the Eagles.
Yeah, there was a time where we were at halftime, but we were still close, and that one horrendous fumble by Najee. Like, god dang, that was a horrible exchange. I mean, that's got to be a horrible highlight for the next season. So,
so we got, and that's largely coaching, I think, how we performed this year. And you had a vet with Russell Wilson, but. What it comes down to, man, is, we just need like a couple pieces here.
Yeah.
To just because again, what do the Chiefs have? Like you can name Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. Who else they got on the team?
Dude,
you know,
listen, if you look
really
back
can't
on
name anybody.
if you look back on the Super Bowl numbers, if you look back on the Super Bowl numbers for the game, if you take away Patrick Mahomes' scrambles, which pretty much added up to 40 yards or something, all three of their running backs between Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacquiao, or how do you say his last name? Yeah, but I mean, all three of their running backs were like horrendous. Like I think all of them averaged like 24 yards, all three of them combined. Like that's horrible. Like you can't get anyone to make at least a yard. Like it was so bad for them. And again, like you said, Patrick Mahomes, I think, threw for 250 yards, and Worthy was 150 of them.
60.
Everybody else was like 40, 20. Yeah. Like it was bad numbers all around.
So yeah, a lot of question marks to be answered. O-line versus D-line. You wanted to talk about that? I mean, we kind of already talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have covered pretty much everything we wanted to. I mean, again, I think what we end with here with is just like, you know, we talk about the coaching staff with Terrell Austin and